Welcome everyone to our chair yoga session. My name is Tina Wang. To do this session with me, you just have to have a chair set up. Preferably the chair does not have any wheels or armrests. And you can see there is also a mat underneath my chair, so that's something you can set up. And I'll join you at the chair. Great. After you have brought your chair up onto your mat, come to the front edge of your chair and bring your feet forwards. I'm going to turn sideways so you get a profile view of my alignment, but you can stay facing forward so your neck is also even as you look at the screen. So bring your feet forward so that you can bring your heels to be underneath your knees. Make sure your heels are pointing straight back. They're not pointing in towards the midline or out towards the sides of your room. So from here, stretch your arms down, turn your palms forwards, spread your toes, and bring your hands to touch them. So the feet are getting more surface area, and the hands are getting a little more focusing. So make sure that the digits of the hands touch its neighboring digit. Roll the shoulders back, press down the heels, and feel that effect of it giving you a little bit more leverage in which you can lift off your trunk, off your hips. Bend your elbows and bring your hands back to the chair seat behind you, which is why you just sat to the front edge of your chair. Spread your toes once again. Press your heels down once again and observe the roots of the thigh. So the root of the thigh is where that hip crease is. You can feel here how dense before kind of like slopes down to a valley before it rises up to a cliff. So can you let the thighs descend at the root as you now bend the elbows back? Lift the waist up again. Descend the tops of your buttocks down towards the base and soften your eyes as you feel the quality of the back. So in arranging the limbs this way, hopefully the back now feels more that it's coming forward and in, so that there's more support for you to find space within the trunk where the breathing mechanisms are, the diaphragm, space in the rib cage. Lift up the front of the chest, and now slide your fingers forward to the sides of the hips. Roll your shoulders back and down again, and let that affect the positioning of the elbows. So now bring your elbows in, close your hands, the sides of your fingers, close them towards each other. Keep your elbows close to the sides of your trunk and bring your hands together to touch now, right in front, near the navel. So not high, your fingers are pointing straight forward as if it's, it's a sort of direct pointer to the screen or the table that your screen is on. If you have glasses on, this is a good time to take them off. If you stood up to take your glasses off, please redo the feet, redo the positioning of your legs, the positioning of your back before you close your hands. And when you're ready, you can close your eyes. So we just did a little bit of centering so that you can arrive to the yoga practice with the physical kind of setting up. Notice if you can move your elbows in a little bit more and let the elbows go down a little bit more towards the floor. Does that affect how your shoulders are rising or falling? Connect well the feet to the floor, connect well the hand into each other, but don't do so much that you are feeling stifled in your breath or that you are overexerting or stiffening up. So since this class is a yoga class, the idea of equanimity or finding evenness really is the container in which we work within, regardless of what shape we hold, regardless of what direction we're moving the body. And you do it with an idea of being even in mind, in quality, in effort, in ease. So I'll show different poses. I'll give you different ideas to think about to move the body. What's even for each individual is quite different. So please do take care of yourself. If you ever need a moment to take a break, it is good to take the centering, even if you don't close your eyes, but take this as a pose in between any of the different poses we do together, so that this practice becomes also about a cultivation of attention, of focus, that's not overly sharp or overly dull. Notice how your breath moves or pulls within you. Can you keep your eyes soft, your jaw easy, your throat open, your chest broad? As you descend your chin down to your chest, move your elbows in more and descend the inner shoulders down more, the trapezius down more, the back. Then rest your hands on your lap. Keep your elbows in. Notice if your elbows started to splay out. Keep your elbows in so you can also start to move the shoulders. Lift your face up and bring your attention back to the screen when you're ready to do so. Great. So we will begin today by stretching the legs forwards. I'm going to back up my camera just slightly. You can see from my head to my toes. So from here, after you stretch your legs forward, bring your toes straight out to the ceiling. So the toes should now be pointing straight up. And you can look at your own two sets of toes to see, are the toes actually pointing more to the screen? Are they pointing more to the sides of the room? Can you make them, the sole of the foot, more perpendicular to the floor? Sometimes the answer to my question is no, you cannot. So perhaps this is something that you work on to see if the no can be slowly softened to a maybe. So now bring your feet together to touch. Also, just a reminder, this practice could take many, many years. So just working in the direction of is beneficial. Interlock your fingers together. So again, the hand finger goes to the top of the hand. Left finger to the top of the right hand finger to the top of the left hand. Press forwards the hands. Keep your toes facing up. Press your heels down. So this is something for your hands to do as you even out the effort in your legs. Travel up the leg now. Observe if the mid-calf, the back of the lower leg is pointing to the sides, or is the middle of that belly of the calf pointing down, straight down. It relieves the interlock of the fingers. Change the interlock so that the other index finger is closer to the other thumb. Press your hands forward. Now that we've noticed, we can spread our toes here, press the heels down, and center the center of the calf. Can you observe the hamstring? So the hamstring is the muscles below the thigh, below the upper leg. Can you make sure those are also pointing straight down? Now from here, you may not be able to see them necessarily, but you can use your thigh to kind of gauge, use your knees to gauge. Lift your arms up overhead this time. So keep the opening of the hand facing overhead. And if you're working with any shoulder mobility considerations, you can always have your arms be wide. You can always have them be at a diagonal. You don't have to interlock them. You can always keep them wide, but make sure that they're even. So is your left arm evenly spaced from your left ear? Is your right ear evenly spaced from your right arm? Keep your knees taut. So keep your directness, that focus you have cultivated within you, injected to the knees. Now, separate your arms. Bring them to the sides of the room. Stretch your arms with the palms turned down. We're going to hinge forwards from that hip crease, root of the thigh area. Can you move the hamstrings away from the heels? So keep pressing the heels down. Move the hamstrings. It's as if the hamstrings are going to slide up the chair seat, up to the back of the chair. Stretch the arms and come forwards with your trunk. So you should feel a sense of direction also of the movement of the back of the legs. From here, reach your arms back. as if you want to clap your hands together behind you. Roll the shoulders back and stretch the arms more back as you come forwards more with the trunk. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see me on profile, but you can stay as you are so you can keep your eyes on the screen. So we started with our hands to the side, we came forward, we reached back, the hamstrings are lifted up. Now, can you press your right foot down to the floor? So the left toes are still facing up to the ceiling, but now the right foot, sole of the foot is pressing down. Stretch your arms back more, extend the side of the trunk forwards and up more. Now, right heel down, left foot down to the floor. If that's feeling too precarious, just have both sets of toes up to the ceiling. But with the left foot down, press the left foot down, lift the back of the left leg up. Now, both of the heels are straight down. Touch your big toes together. Stretch your arms back, extend the trunk forwards. Come up, step your feet straight down to the floor. This time, stretch your arms down. Just have a moment here, back to in a way where we started. You're going to now lift your arms up overhead. So we're going to say profile just so you can see. From here, you're going to stretch both of the legs forwards again. If that option was available to you of having the foot down to the floor, you do. But separate your feet now so they're about hips width distance. And I will face you after I give you this visual. So from here, same thing. I'm just facing you now. Come forwards with the trunk. Press the feet down. Lift the backs of the legs up. Good. I see a lot of good variations with repositioning of the arms. Maybe the arms stay at the sides if the shoulders are bothering you. The idea is that you feel the length of the arms extending the side of the waist. Make sure you're still feeling the upward, backward movement of the legs. Come up. Bring your arms forward. Bring your arms down. Separate your feet now. So this pose is called Upavishta Konasana. It's our wide angle pose. So pump the toes up to the ceiling. After all of these ankle opening, leg opening work, we're going to come up with the support of the chair to do some standing poses. Stretch the arms up. So from here, make sure the palms, take a look at your own two palms. The reason why my palms are hidden in a way is also that sometimes it can help to look at your own palms, have the fingers touch, have the palms face each other. You have the option of clapping the hands together and using the contact of hand to hand to go taller, to grow taller, as if one hand has become, and two hands have become one. Always you can separate the arms. See, an important thing is to help use the rising up of the arms to feel the rising up of the side waist. Okay, arms down. Let's bring our legs together once more. Pump the tops of the feet down once more. Now, have your hands be behind your back. Clap your hands one time behind your back. Clap your hands twice behind your back. The third time, after you clap, turn the thumb and index finger and rest of the fingers up the back. So again, you're trying to spread your toes onto the floor. It's a progressive movement in class, which just means we layer on additional things, also to help you keep your attention present. If you can, you walk your hands higher up the back. I'm just going to turn around so you can see my hands, but please feel free to stay as you are so you can really enjoy from this and benefit from time in this pose. So what I just did is I clap my hands and then I bring my hands up, turn my fingers straight up to the back of my neck, and I close my hands here. I want to make sure this is clear. It's very likely your hands are doming away from each other. At any point, slide your hands down and redo the actions before you get too stiff. So sometimes we just feel like we cannot press the hands into each other, so some movement can be helpful. So now you'll release that and you'll step your legs wide once again. I want to bring a little bit of torso twisting with the hand position. If that hand position is too bothersome for whatever condition you're working with, You can always stretch your arms to the sides or stretch them back. So adjust your heels. Make sure the center of the heel is down. The center of the calf face is down. The center of the hamstring is not turning back, nor is it coming forward. So you have the adjustment on the right leg. You have the adjustment on the left leg. Then take your time here. If you're ready, you clap your hands. You turn the thumb and index finger up. You walk your hands up the back, any amount that you can. Close your hands together. This time, like we started class, elbows in, shoulders back. If you don't feel very steady in your legs, first try to see if you engage more, do you feel more steady? If you press your heels down more, if you lift the hamstrings up towards the buttocks more, do you feel more steady? If the answer is no, then just close your legs in a little bit. Now, turn your trunk, the right side of your trunk, as if you want to turn it over the left leg. Think more about right side of the trunk turning. Don't turn just your head. Right side of the trunk turns. Can your hands still press gently in towards the middle of the back? If the answer is no, just stretch your arms, no problem. Come back to the center. So it's a very subtle movement. Let us place the tops of the feet down now. Tops of the feet down. And if you're doing this standing, you can widen your feet also. Widen your feet, maybe 3.5, 4 feet wide. So now clap your hands into each other. Turn your trunk over the right leg. Think about left side of the waist that turns over the right leg, not just your head. Your head is a passenger. Let's think about the driver being the side of the trunk, the side of the waist, the side of the armpit, the side of the shoulder. Good. Come back to the center. Release your arms carefully. Step your legs together. So all of that is to get the joints going. We're going to come up to stand. Walk your feet back. Stretch your arms back. Roll your shoulders back. This is Utkatasana. I'm going to turn to the side for you to get a visual. So the idea is that the feet are now more underneath the buttocks. Stretch your arms back. Now, extend your arms overhead. Hopefully that helps you feel a sense of lightness in the trunk. But that also involves you lifting your arms up higher. Not just naturally, your arms overhead will help you lift the trunk. So from here, you are deepening here in the root of the thigh as you shift your buttocks off. So keep yourself as upright as possible. Press your heels down, shift your weight forward, stretch the arms any amount. If you can lower in your seat, lower in your seat. Have your buttocks, base of the buttocks still. Go down to the heel. Stretch your arms more. Go down with the buttocks down more. Then walk your feet forward. Stand in front of your chair. Find your mountain pose position. From here, press the heels down. Lift the backs of the legs up. If you're not really sure what that means, sometimes it's helpful to touch where the hamstrings are. So we talked about the hamstrings being at the back of the upper leg. So after you touch the hamstrings, you can slightly bend your elbows, slightly lift your heels, not to your maximum. If you have, other forms of training, maybe it's always about going to the maximum. So it's not about going to the maximum. It's just a slight floating up of the heel, slight float up of the heel so you feel this upward action of the hamstring to the butt. Hopefully it doesn't make you uncomfortable to feel your own hamstring. If it does, you can just stretch your arms back and feel as you slightly lift the heel, how the hamstrings stay lifted. So lift your hamstrings, have that feeling when you have your heels slightly lifted. And now press your thighs back towards it, towards the lift of the hamstring. Then bring your heels down, but don't let your hamstrings go back now. So yes, you want to press the heels down and thighs back, but not in sacrifice of the hamstrings being kind of passive. Lift the hamstrings. Okay, now you are standing in front of your chair. I want to do a little bit of that forward extension action. But now separate your feet. So your feet are now the distance of your chair seat. I'll pull up my screen a little bit even more so you can see more of me. So from here, with yourself standing in front of the chair. So also, this is a good tip. If at any point you do not have a mat, a wall can be a really good tool for you. Make sure, especially if you are in somewhere like I am, where I want to be at the back, I have one part of my chair touching the wall, and that feels secure to me. Set up your feet so that your toes are facing straight forward, your heels are pointing straight back. Hold on to your hamstrings. Lift the backs of the legs up. You can fold up your heels. Then press your heels down. Press the thighs back and buttocks in. From here, walk maybe an inch forward so you don't hit your chair because we're going to come forward in a moment. Roll your shoulders back. Top of the buttocks are going down. Press the heels down. Come forwards towards the screen now. Don't let your buttocks shift back. Think of this as not just stretching the legs, but also strengthening the hamstrings, also strengthening the low back. Roll the shoulders back. Don't think about being a turtle. Extend the front of the chest forward. Descend the top of the buttocks down. Press the thighs back. Keep the hamstrings lifted, even if it's just 1 or 2 fingers that's gently caressing and lifting the backs of the legs up. Come on. I hope your legs were able to maintain their straightness. If not, always feel free to separate the legs more. Separate the legs enough so you can keep your legs straight. So I'm holding the backs of my legs. Again, I know we have different limb proportions, so even if you cannot really hold that well, at least you can feel. You can use as if you're painting with your finger. Lift up the hamstrings. Press the heels down. Now, thighs back. As you start to come forward, roll the shoulders back. As you start to come forward more, notice if you're pressing your abdomen down. Descend the low back to the top of the buttocks, to the base of the buttocks, before you extend forwards. Of course, we want to think about protecting the back using the core muscles, come up. But a lot of times we also just want to, if we overdevelop our abdominal muscles, it's all about evenness. So I hope you don't come away from this class thinking I say you should never do core. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, yes, strengthen your abdomen to protect the back, but also notice if you go around the day walking like this. I'm exaggerating for effect, but also I know I'm not trying to make fun of any situation. I probably do this also. So the point is, if you do this all day, every day, no matter how strong your abdominal muscles are, your low back is going to hurt. You see why? So I'm exaggerating for dramatic effect. I guess that's the mood today. So the idea being, I want to descend the top of my buttocks down. That's also why I wear shirts like this. So I can show you, using the fabric of my shirt, how my low back goes down to the top of my buttocks. So if you can narrow the stance of your legs, narrow them. Make sure you can still stretch the legs. Make sure they're still straight. So now, roll the shoulders back. Use your thumbs to descend the tops of the buttocks down. If the hamstring lifting up worked with the fingers was helpful, you can have your hands be down there instead. But now this is to prevent your abdomen from pushing forward. Press the heels down, thighs back. Come forward with the trunk again. So your legs are either together, if you can keep your thighs straight, or they're apart. So however they are, you can hardly even peek at your toes. Make sure you're not doing duck feet. I guess duck feet is like toes turned out. Your toes are facing forward. Extend the trunk forward any amount. Roll the shoulders back any amount. Hamstrings are lifted, so you should feel that the lift of the hamstrings also prevent you from shifting the hips back. Hips are over the heels. Come up. Okay. Now, you're going to face your chair. Whichever makes most sense for you, whether your chair is going to be in front of you or if you want to place your chair on profile. So option to do whichever one. I will show you what we're going to work on in this variation. So we're going to basically do the same thing, but now have the option to have our arms add a little bit more shoulder work to this. So this is the class for the end of the month, which means we're usually getting ready in the end of the month to do more of an extended breath practice of pranayama. As you know, these physical postures are asana. So if you're not sure what Ardha Uttanasana is and how to move towards that, you can watch first. But those of you who are familiar, you can set up your feet, set up yourself to be at a good distance from the chair. We're going to do the same action of the trunk, but this time our fingers are going to be interlocked. Shoulders are rolling back. Arms are going to be stretching down. So option again to keep your legs together if you can straighten them. I cannot see most of your legs, which is a good thing and also a bad thing, but you can be most honest with yourself when you are kind of responsible for your practice. So stretch your arms down the back. Now, lift the hamstrings up, press the thighs back before you come forwards. Make sure your shoulders are not rolling forwards. Roll your shoulders back. That's why your arms are behind you. Stretch your arms back. Really feel that the elbows move in. Now, can you go lower without bringing the abdomen down? Descend the tops of the buttocks down. Now, stretch your arms to the chair seat. Stretch your hands to the top of the chair. Can you press down the top of the chair? Hands down, fingers forward. And if you're doing this seated, for whatever reason, you maybe have done a lot of standing work, or maybe you were just coming from a very vigorous class. You can do the same pose we just did in the start of class, where we came forward with the trunk and our legs are in front of us. Now, make sure that when you're here, you're still lifting up your hamstrings. You can now start to walk your hands down the sides of the chair, palm the sides of the chair. So your arms are also well engaged to the shoulder. You want to stretch your fingers forward, but now also lift the upper arm to the shoulder as you go down any amount with the hands. Make sure the abdomen is stretched forward. The top of the buttocks are going to the base of the buttocks as you stretch your hands any amount. Now, stretch your arms back. Interlock your fingers. The other direction, stretch that back. Come up. Arms down, mountain pose. So as you do mountain, stay in mountain. I just see a couple people seated. So I wanted to give them an option to remind them of the pose they can do seated, which is bring the legs forwards, stretching the arms back and doing the same arm variations as we are, but with yourself seated and extending forwards. Great. We're going to do one more of this. If again your legs are really tired, the option is always you can separate your feet. You can do this same version with your legs much wider. So I wanted to offer that also. If your legs are shaking or it's just too much work for them right now. Last time. I'm just staying to the side so you can see me on profile. Because I think this is really important for those of us, even if this is very seasoned for you, please honor the length of your trunk and the length of your legs beyond, over. More important, prioritizing more than how low you go. I'm just seeing a lot of people who are even rounding the shoulders and upper back a little bit. So make that decision. Do you need to widen the stance of your legs more? Do you need to maybe just come down to the chair? When you're ready, you're going to decide, are you ready to clap your hands behind your back? Bend your knees. If so, clap your hands. Turn the thumb and index finger and rest of the fingers up the back. Again, we're going to now come forward with the hands behind our back. So, Make sure you're doing your best to clap your hands into each other, to roll the shoulders back, to move the elbows forward. Now, straighten the legs, hamstrings up, thighs back, heels down, come forward. But be careful, you want to be at an appropriate distance from the chair so that you can swing your arms forward in a moment. Come forward to the trunk, lift the backs of the legs up, shoulders back, elbows forward, shoulders back, elbows forward, hamstrings up. Any amount, extend the trunk forward. Make sure the low back, especially if the low back is something that bothers you, low back is going towards the top of the buttocks. Low back does not point to the ceiling, does not point down to the floor. Goes to the top of the buttocks. Now swing your arms to the chair, seat. Yes, now we're going to move from Ardha Uttanasana to downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. So, if your knees are starting to bend, it's a sign to separate your feet. If they want to bend, a sign to separate the feet. Keep your legs straight. Walk your hands beyond the chair seat towards the chair back. Tense up your fingertips. Move the elbows in. Now, if you can walk your feet back safely, walk it back safely. If you need to come out to do it, do so. Kneecaps taut, heels down. Arms are extending forwards as your thighs press back. Press the thighs back. Lift the hamstrings up. Walk your hands forward. You can walk your feet back an inch more. As you walk your hands back an inch more, do so. Breathe. Don't drop in the shoulders. Stretch the armpits by stretching the arms forward and descending the tops of the buttocks towards the base of the buttocks. Now, stretch your arms back. Come back to your heels. Shoulders back. Stretch your arms back. Come up. Take time here. Breathe. That was a lot of time to be with your head down, to notice its effects. If you're getting dizzy, separate your feet. You can bend your elbows, bend your knees a little bit. But sometimes really just firming yourself, firming the kind of major joints, heels, knees, elbows, moving the outer hips in, rolling the shoulders back, maybe just coming to that sense of alignment can be quieted after a very intense physical pose. Okay, let us now move the chair to the left side, but this time the back of the chair will be facing forwards. I want us to do a very, I want to say copacetic, but that's really not the right word. I want to do a familiar pose. We're going to do our extended triangle pose. So we're going to stand in front of the chair, actually. So personally, I'm going to move my whole setup because it has the chair a little bit further back. And then from there, I'm going to stand in front of my chair off to the right. I should still have the back of my chair facing forward. So we can start in mountain pose here. Touch your big toes together, spread the rest of the toes away. Stretch your arms. Now, separate your feet. You can even have your hand be at the top of the chair, just so you can make sure that this is right here. It's for you to just have this kind of somatic check-in. Now, turn your left leg to the side of the room, including your left toes, including your left knee, including your left thigh. So from here, can you now walk your right foot more to the right? Just because I see a lot of us are working with maybe 2 feet away legs, maybe take one step today, one step towards a new week. So stretch your right arm to the right. Before we come into triangle, I want you to make sure that the left thigh is rolling back so that the left knee is facing straight up to the ceiling. Then I want you to make sure your right leg is straight. Then lift up the trunk from here. Move your middle buttocks forwards.
Stretch both of the arms. Keep your kneecaps taut. You're going to begin to go to the left. As you go to the left, I want you to observe your hips though. Are your hips swinging to the left? Are your hips swinging back? Can you keep your hips underneath you, your left thigh rotated as you stretch towards the back of your chair? Perhaps you can even rest your arm to the back of the chair, like you're taking your afternoon nap, which we really should all perhaps start to enjoy, because it may be very rejuvenating for the brain and body. Now from here, it's like you're imagining, maybe you can even hook your armpit over, stretch the arm. Wow, it's like I'm sleeping on the beach or whatever choice of landscape you like to sleep in. But please make sure your buttocks, you didn't leave your buttocks at home. Bring your buttocks with you to the beach. And then from there, we're going to come up. Good job. Turn your feet forwards. Legs together. So, as we were saying, a very copacetic triangle pose. Stretch your arms down, roll your shoulders back. So even though we're thinking about becoming more quiet, doesn't mean we necessarily become more sleepy or dull. Just maybe the way that we work can be more supported by our different props. Over to the right. So have your chair be over to the right side. And then we're going to stand in front of the chair. So you can touch your chair as a touchstone. Is that what touchstone means? It's a stone you touch. Well, I'll look it up later. So step your right foot to the back of the chair, left foot as wide as you can, and perhaps after you turn your right leg out to the side, you realize, oh, I can step my left foot a little bit wider. So I also teach different ways of getting into the same poses, also to switch up the priority and also to give you a kind of framework to see what you're noticing and not. Turn your right thigh back. Move your right buttock to the screen. If you can, you walk your left foot back more. Stretch your left arm, press the left heel down, press the left thigh back. So now you know where we're going. So you can see if you need to be further away from the chair or closer, because we want to eventually lay the whole right underside of the arm towards the back of the chair. So make any adjustments you need to make. But then, like we take our glasses off before centering, redo the actions of the legs. Bring your buttocks with you as you stretch yourself to the right. Maybe you need to turn your right thigh back more. Maybe you need to move your right buttock forwards more. Stretch yourself more to the right. And then maybe at a certain point, you can bring more of the right arm towards the back of the chair. That being said, I don't want you to rest your elbow. You still want to stretch your arm, because just because we get massages to loosen things up, it doesn't mean the thing won't happen again, because perhaps we have not noticed what's causing that spasm, what's causing that pain, what's causing the misalignment. Press the feet down, stretch the arms. And that doesn't mean if something is hurting, it only means you have to fix it. This is just one approach, one idea. Come up, turn the feet, legs together. Last pose we'll do before we do an extended breath practice is we're going to do some twisting. So bring your chair now to the center of your mat. From here, you're going to come to the right side of your chair. Feet hips width distance. You're going to bend your knees forwards. So we're going to slowly descend. But first, I want you to feel the bend of your knees. When you bend your knees forward, does it bother your ankles? Does it bother your hips? You're just bending the knees. And you bend your knees wide and not narrow. So wide just means you want to bend your knees over the fourth toe at least. Not towards each other like you're going to make the figure of a bathroom person. Oh, this is the bathroom. No, you're not. Well, you can go to the bathroom and then maybe you don't have to bend your knees in. And then Stretch your arms up. This time, we're going to come down to a seat in our Utkatasana fashion. Bend your knees forward. Then, slightly bring your buttocks back. But keep bending the knees forward. Now, cut the firming ankles back and shift your buttocks back a little bit more. If you need to touch your chair to feel where it is before it comes down, before you come down, do. But keep your knees wide as you sit. We'll get to do this again. But now, walk your feet so that your heels are underneath your knees. Turn to face the screen. Bring your hands down. Widen your elbows. So, you are holding to the sides of the chair. Try not to lean to the right or left. Lean both ways, actually, so you're even. Open the left hand. Wrap your fingers around, the right fingers around the chair. So you are, in your inhale, lifting up. With your exhale, pushing the left hand and pulling the right hand. Make sure your elbows are up. Yes, good. Feel how when your elbows lift, even if your arms are low, when your elbows lift, you get the mid-back to move a little bit more. Now, press the feet down, lift up the trunk. Press the left hand and pull the right hand. Think more about turning your middle back and your upper back. Keep your low back long. Come back to facing your knees. Walk your feet back. Get another Utkatasana in. If your knees bother, first, see if there's something you can adjust, like keeping your knees wide. So touch your toes, big toes together, separate your knees, walk your feet back, arms up, press your heels down, shift your weight forwards. Careful with anything that may be in your way. Carefully step your feet forward. Arms down, mountain pose with the hamstrings up. Other side, walk to the left side. Separate your feet hips width. So if you're not sure, you can keep your gaze on your knees the whole time. Arms up. Look at your knees. Bend your knees. Are they going toward each other like you're going to the bathroom? Are they going forward? Or maybe they're even overdoing and going too far out. So just, can you keep it over the fourth toe? You should at least be able to see your big toe, unless of course structurally you're different, then I don't want to impose. But now, touch your toes together, bend your knees forwards, shift your hips slightly back, stretch your arms, and see, can you keep your knees apart as you slowly lower? If you need to touch the back of the chair before you do so, do so. Great, now you walk your feet forwards, away from the side of the chair. Lift your arms up, turn your trunk to face the back of the chair, open your hands to the side of the chair, open the right palm, close the left palm. So, same thing on the other side. Elbows are wide and lifted. You can always lower your hands if your shoulders are bothering you. Press down the feet, lift up the trunk. Press the right hand, pull the left hand. Move your middle back around. Inhale, press down and lift up. Press the right hand, pull the left hand. Breathe here. Great. Come back to the center. So now, walk your feet back. We're going to come up one more time. You can decide if you're done with the Utkatasana work, you can also just face the back of the room and sit, because now we're going to sit for our breath practice. So arms up, press the feet down, shift your weight forward, knees apart, come up, hands down, feet together. Okay, so for our breath practice pranayama setup today, I want you to make sure, especially if you have a backless chair like me, that you actually have a support for your buttocks. So I may need you have a little cushion here. And I'll just remain to the side so you can see. I'm going to really, as you can see, I have a backless chair. So when I sit, my buttocks are a little bit, so this is my cushion, unfortunately, it's close to the color of my wall. But I promise you there's a cushion. But the benefit to backless chair could be you can actually drop your buttocks back really, really low and far off. But for many of us, we have a very traditional chair. And the point of bringing the top of the buttocks down and having this action remain when we sit upright is to just have our buttocks be the thing that touches the back of the chair, not the rest of our back. Our back, as we know, ends near the middle of the buttocks. So that's the part we want to ground down. So if you want to do with me, you lean forwards, roll the shoulders back, touch the base of your middle of your buttocks to the back of your chair. So if you have a cushion and it stays, you can leave it there also. But I'm holding onto my cushion because of my backless chair situation. I descend my buttocks down as I come back upright. And I need to maybe make a little adjustment with my cushion. But as you can see here, only my buttocks are touching the chair seat itself. So the back shouldn't be at a diagonal. See what you can do. So if, for example, you don't have something like this, you have something maybe like this. You still want to think about this being the first juncture of contact, the buttocks. And then of course, if it's a support like this, the rest of the back may touch. But I still want to emphasize, prioritize that it's the base of the buttocks and the middle buttocks that are touching. Now, walk your feet forward. If you do have a setup like mine, it's best to be against the wall because as you can see already how kind of precarious this setup is. If you have glasses on, this is a good time to take it off. Interlock your fingers in between your lap and rest your elbows down. Can you, for a moment, walk the elbows close to the sides of the hips, to the side of the waist, as you roll your shoulders back. Make sure your feet are even from each other, both in position and also in its engagement to the floor. Make sure the inner foot is down, the outer foot is down, the heels are pressing up, the arches are lifted. So it's important to set up properly for pranayama, just like we set up properly for us. We cannot expect automatically that we will be ready for anything, which is also why preparation time is so important. If you're ready, close your eyes. If you need a couple moments, look above the screen. Look above the screen so that you can take a moment to be directive. So in pranayama, we want to first find quiet. That's even more important than going into the different phases of pranayama, which you have been exposed to before, perhaps if you've come to my classes. But finding quiet is also quite challenging. That's why people, if you have a consistent practice, they don't even suggest doing pranayama until 6 months to a year after the practice. Because you want to feel stacked, and that sense of stacking not be effortful before you even notice the breath. So the preparation phase is what you're doing now. Is you're noticing, is it effortful for you to be upright? Because as you know, doing different things, putting your body in different situations, makes you feel the breath in many different ways. And if we are searching for equanimity,
It's important to work from the physical layer before we can get down lower. So I'll be quiet for about a minute. So you can sit here, and if you notice yourself caving forwards, just know that next time maybe you need more support behind you. If you also prefer to do this practice laying down, this is pretty much what the practice is. Or you are laying over the bolster, but if you're on the floor, your buttocks are actually off of the bolster. Soften your eyes, soften your jaw. Now, if you feel very clear internally, you can start to direct your attention to your breath. If you're feeling sleepy, if you're feeling a little bit perhaps irritated, or that whatever other thing is coming up that's distracting you, it's better for you to focus on your physical body and use that to anchor yourself. Anchor yourself to try to find stillness without suppressing anything that's coming up. If you're ready for Ujjayi 1, Ujjayi 1 preparation is to notice the breath. So you can start by noticing the 4 parts of the breath. And then let go from there. So as you start to almost open up the fence of your attention, you can change the interlock of the fingers and just see if you can sit more. Just take more time here to sit quietly. If at any point you do need to come up to stand, but you still want to stay focused, you can of course bring the bolster and you can have a seat on the bolster too. That's always an option for you if you need a change of environment. You can still keep everything very soft. I'll invite you to transition into Ujjayi 2, which is our extended exhalation practice. It's not about doing too much, but after you notice your breath, it's about perhaps being more curious about your exhalation breath. Maybe that naturally will start to extend it too. Slowly, you can start to come out of your Ujjayi 2 just by going back to normal inhalations, normal exhalations. And then when you feel ready to do so, you can start to come forward with your attention to the front of your body, so no rush. You can use your feet anchoring down to the floor to bring you back forwards. And thank you very much for joining me today and for staying till the end of the practice. I look forward to seeing you at the next session of our chair yoga.